CSS layouts. Hello everyone, welcome to this channel. CSS layouts are about how to display HTML elements in the user interface. You can use margin, you can use positioning, you can use padding, you can use floating, and you can also use display. You have a display flex, display grid, display block, display inline. Let's see. For example, we want to display flex. Say flex display, and then when you type display, you see all the options. You have display block, display contents, flex box, flex flow, route, grid, inline block, inline flex box, inline table, list item, display none, Ruby base, and you have display table. For example, when you create table element, it is by default displayed as table, and you can also make the child of a container display like table using display table. And then you have table option, table cell, display table column group, and you have all these options, and the same options also for Mozilla, that sometimes you have to define, and mostly it works without saying directly hyphen moz grid, but for some CSS properties you have to define browser specific values, otherwise in those browsers it will not work. Mozilla, Firefox, Microsoft Edge, they also have many users. So if you create an application that is widely used, and then for you have to check which CSS value is just browser specific, and then if you want to display that thing and style your user interface so that it works on most popular browsers, then you have to define values for them as well. For example, here you have Microsoft Grade, images for Microsoft Grade, for Microsoft Edge you have Mozilla. So the display is in this case, or just an example, when you say display grid, it is a general term for CSS. It might not work on all browser, and that is why you have to say one time grid, and then another time say mouse grid, and then for another one you have to say for the Microsoft as well MS grid. For display works on all browsers, and then there are some CSS properties that you have to specify specific values for specific browsers, especially for Safari. And then for Safari you have to use WebKit Flex, for example. This was just a side note that is very important if you create a user interface or application with user interface for millions users. Display flex. So this is this test float container. I change this to test flex, then I give this flex. For now I should also change this to flex, and also this one to flex, and all those three div elements inside this test flex will have 100 pixel width and 100 pixel height, and that also has a display flex class. Let us see how it looks like. Now it looks like this. It is the same as just saying float left. Display flex, when you just say display flex, it is automatically flex row. And then you can also change it by saying column. Let's create here another class, say flex column, and then you have here flex direction, and for direction you have column reverse, row reverse. We want column, and then here you say flex and then flex column. It will display as column. You can specify where the child elements should appear, and for that you have, for example, justify between, justify content space between, justify between. Now you do not see any effect because this container has 300 pixel height, and each of these child elements also has 100 pixel height, so this is total 300. That's why you see nothing. If we change that to, let's say, 90, then we will see here space between. If we also remove the column to make it display like a row, now this is justify between. If you remove the justify between, it will look like this. Then you have justify space around. Let us change it to around and create here around. Now you see that they have equal space around each of them. Now you see here wider space, that so this space is twice as this one, because you have here this space and you have the same here till here, and then for this element you have also this much space around it. That is justify space around. Then you have justify center. These properties work also on displaying grid. Justify center. So for the justify content, you have baseline, you have center, you have end, you have first baseline, you have flex end, you have flex start, you have last baseline, you have left, right, safe, space around, space between, space evenly, start, stretch. Now let's say center. Also create for the start and end. You have also flex end, flex start, start and end. Change it to center. All the elements are together and the center of it is container. Let us say start. Now it is the start. Let us say the end. All of them are the end. And then you have also flex end is the same. But flex end will not work if it is great. You say display flex, say you can say flex end, but if you say great, display great, flex end probably will not work. Now you have justify content. You have also align items, and then you have align content. You have align self. Let us do for the items. Let's say items center. You say align items. These are the values for align items. You have baseline center and first baseline, flex end, flex start, last baseline normal, self end, self start, and then you have also end. So this one is center. Let's say center is copy this multiple times and then change this value. So this one from center to start, this one to end, this one to flex start, this one to flex end, self start, and in this one self end. And here we say also items center. To see the effect of items center, we should give this children different height so that we see some effect. For now it is only here at the center. Dot if 2 we gave it a height of 50 pixel. The new style did not work. Why? This is also class, this is also class, but here you also have element, so class plus element makes it higher. So we also, if you want to overwrite the previous one, you should add also here the element. Now element plus class, this will to have the same specificity or equal specificity, and the latest rule will win. Now you see the height is now changed, and we set the item center. Now it is also on the center of it is element, and the elements themselves are also like on the center. Here item center, you also see when you hover over that very nicely that it demonstrates it is at the center. If you disable, it goes on the top end, and then you also see then the middle item or the middle div is on the top instead of being in the center. So that is items center. We can change this justify flex in, let's say justify around, and then the item center, let's say int. The items displayed with the space around them and also at the end instead of being at the top. You have a start, it will be on the top of the container. Then you have another important thing, align content. align content, let us say the first one center. Then here you have align content, and then for this one you have also baseline, center, and first baseline, flex and flex start, and the space around, the space between, space evenly, start, and etc. Center, this one from center to start, and then this one flex start, and this one end, flex end, from the between you say space between, space around, and then space evenly, even. Copy this and use here. Let us make it item center, and then justify content also center. Here you have justify content, you have align content. Now the align content start has line through, and it gives you some information. And it says the flex wrap no wrap property prevents align content from having an effect. So by default the flex wrap is no wrap. It means that when you have too many child elements and it is displayed flex row, the direction is row, it will not jump to the next line in case it is out of its container, and in case of the overflow. And you can say here flex wrap, we can say flex wrap, and then for flex wrap we have here no wrap, is the default, and we want it to wrap or jump to the next line in case the first row is full or if there is any overflow. So we gave this flex and then flex wrap. Justify content is at the center, align items is center, align content is start. It is changing directly here from start to end. Now it is at the end. Let us say flex end is the same as end. Now you know that these options exist for displaying flex or display grid. You can play with it, and using justify content, align content, and align items, you can change the position of a child element in a container anywhere in the container. You can make it on the top left, left center, or at the center of the element, or right top or right bottom to any position. Let us talk about CSS grid. Grid is another way to display the content of a container as columns or rows. Here we have this example test grid. Let's change this also to grid. For now, they are looking like this. We have here 5 child containers. Let's create here another class called grid. Say display grid, and let's give this class to this container. We don't see any effect or any changes here, because for grid you must specify the columns or rows. Let's say we want 3 columns, so we say col 3, and we say grid template columns, and here you can specify the size of each column. We want for now auto, so 3 even columns, and we gave this to this container. We say col 3, and it looks like this. So it has 3 even columns, and the other one does not fit here, so these 2 other child containers jump to the next line. We also can specify the style and height of each row. So now we know we have 2 rows. We say grid template rows, and then the size of the first row, for example, we want 100 pixel, and the second row we want 200 pixels. Now you see it changed the original and the new one. Can also change the space between each item, that is called grid gap, or gap that you specify how many space should be around the items. Let's say here gap 20 pixels. Remove this one. Now you see more space. When you hover over that, it shows the space between them. So the gap is a shorthand for gap row and gap column. You can specify here the first one is for row, the second one is for the column, and you say for the column I want 50 pixels. Now column got more space, as you see also here. And then you can apply the other styles from the flex to modify this. For example, here you can say justify between, it works also like that. Change this around. Now it is like that. We have align content, for example, let us say between. Align content between. I made mistake, probably I made here a mistake in the name of the class. I should modify that. So this is align. Now you see the changes also upon that. So here we have align content between and justify content around. This is content around, and this is align content between. You can change it directly here and say around. Now you also see space at the beginning of or at the top of the container and at the bottom of the container because it has a space around each item. Then you have items, let us say for now center. You have align items center. Now they are in the center. On the top, on the center, on the top, on the center. Without that, you see that it is at the top, and then when you enable the style, it is at the center. It is changed then directly here. It is only say start, that is the original. Then it say end. Now it is on the bottom. You have justify content and you have also justify items. Justify item center. So justify, you have justify self as well. Justify items center. Let's give it to this container. It is remove the item center space around. See item center. Now you see the effect of that. So you have kind of the same values as justify content here. You have start and flex, start flex, and you have also left and right. You have self and self start. You have also legacy center. Change this one to start and this one to end, so that we have kind of CSS library and we can use this later. This one flex is start for displaying flex, and this one for flex end. This one for left, and this one for right. So you have grid columns, you have gap, you have rows, then you have also grid area to specify where a column should start or a row where should start, and an item inside a container, how many rows or how many columns it should take, and then you can specify that here. I have modified the HTML. Now it looks like this. Let's talk about grade row and grade column. Now if one is item 1 in this container, it is also here. By using grade row start and grade row end, grade column start and grade column end, you can specify an item where it should appear. For example, for the first one, we say grade row start from the second row, and then grid row end fourth. Now you see that the position of 1 changed from the first row to the second row. When you here specify the start, it includes the start, and when you specify the end, it does not include the end. Now let's see the column. Grid column start. We want the F2, which is now at the column first, to appear at column 3, and then grid column end 5. The 2 is now at column 3. Because all the child of that container has a specified width of 100 pixels, we see it like this. But if we disable this, you see how many columns or how many rows it takes or how long it spends. Let us for now comment this. So this is how you comment slash start and then close with star and slash. And then for this one, if we say 1, now it takes us the whole column. You can also specify the start and end column. Just copy paste from here, playing lazy. Column start, column 2 and 2 3. Now it takes only one column. So these are the most used and most important things in CSS about grid and flex. And this stuff that we tested in flex also work in grid, but not the one with the flex start, only the start. So we have here align content end, align content start, and then items self start, and then align items. You have all the options with the start and center, flex start, flex end, and then you have justify items, you have justify content, and all of them also work the same way as it work with the flex. You have a template for grid area, which is grid row and grid column. You have again a template for grid column, which is grid column start, grid column end. And then the grid itself, it is a template that you can give all the options just in one line.